Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, including Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and Rick and Morty. I'm Dylan Heisen, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattrell.
Hello.
Today, Sam and I will be looking back on Hayao Miyazaki's 1988 film. 1988. Yep. This film's very old. My Neighbor Totoro. What I would argue probably is the most influential and foremost film in animation history. I mean, maybe there's like the original Mickey thing, but like this is
the original Mickey thing.
The Steamboat Mickey. You know, this is probably it though.
Steamboat Willie is
Willie. You know, and this is part of our Studio Ghibli. We're going back through all of the films. This is only the second Miyazaki film we've done. I've kind of been a little hesitant to discuss the all-time classics. What in my view are like the best films of all time. I actually think this one isn't necessarily in the top tier of Miyazaki films, despite being probably the most influential one. But
you know what? There's a sign the other day. I saw a girl wearing a Totoro dress.
Yeah.
And then we were just like, we have to do it.
We have to do it. Yeah, that inspired
us. It was a sign.
We've also been doing all of the slice of life-ish ones, so it's a good one to do too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The overlyanimated.com is where you can find everything about us. I guess let's start. Like, before, me and Mel did Nausicaa, Miyazaki's second directorial film, and before Nausicaa, I kind of gave him this disclaimer where normally I'm hypercritical of a lot of things, and I'm very eager to discuss flaws and stuff, but for these best Miyazaki films of all time, I have this deferential view towards them, and it's really hard for me to... It's not only is it hard for me to criticize them, but I also kind of won't have criticism. I don't think this movie is in that group of maybe 5 films that I would say we can't really criticize. I mean, saying
you can criticize anything.
You can say you criticize anything, but I would just I would be uncomfortable with it for some of the what I think best movies of all time are. I don't think this is one of the best movies of all time, although it's certainly one of the most prominent.
Yeah, something can be influential and not be the best thing ever.
But I still think it's very good. I mean, well, let's talk about it. So, Sam, this is actually the first time you've seen Totoro, correct? Yeah. So normally
I can hear all 5 people listening to this screaming at me.
That's accurate. Yeah. 5 people. Normally we're both if it's a retrospective, we both have seen it and stuff. But we're inevitably going to get into films that I haven't seen or the co-host hasn't seen, so. But I saw this one, years ago and stuff. But Sam, specifically you just watched it now. You watched the dub, correct?
I did. The Fannings.
With the Fanning sisters, yeah. What did you think of My Neighbor Totoro, and what did you think of the dub?
I don't really get all the hype about it. I thought it was an okay movie. I liked it, but I mean, there's really nothing to amazing about it other than how cute Totoro is. I don't know. I just don't really get all the hype surrounding it and all the build up and why it's become sort of this cultural landmark and why it's arguably Ghibli's most famous film. At least in terms of merchandising. The dub kind of bothered me. I didn't think it was very good. The dad was just... They were either giving him terrible lines or he was just a plank of wood. And the Fannings were kind of... kids, I don't know. Whatever.
You don't know whatever. I think that if you've never seen Totoro before, you can maybe confuse everything surrounding the film with it being the best ever.
Yeah.
And there are some people who think this is the best animated film ever, and I feel like those are people who don't view animated films the same way they view other films. I view animated films in just like any other movie, and Totoro is a good, very good film. I always enjoy this movie when I see it, and I think it's really really well crafted, kind of like this flawless movie. But it's ceiling.
Getting a little bit ahead of yourself there.
But it's flawless in the extremely extremely not ambitious thing it's trying to accomplish, which is just tell this very low key story about this family moving to extreme rural, Japan in 1958. But I mean, there's just nothing wrong with it. Like there's nothing extremely special about it though. There's the fantasy elements, which are really, really creative, and
They're very low key.
they're very low key and in a really like grounded way, and it's really cool. And I think us looking back on this film now, we're obviously gonna not see it as special as much as it maybe was at the time, because Totoro has kind of spawned all the fantasy elements in all of animation that we've seen since, and it's nothing special to us now. Like, we've seen how the spirit world is in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and like how incredibly well done, I mean, sometimes that is, and how interesting it is, and so that's just kind of like an expansion of the kind of fantasy elements created in this film. So of course we're not going to see it as super special now, because it's kind of been done and done more interestingly. But without this basis, we don't get anything from Avatar, and we don't get anything in probably even Steven Universe and stuff like that. I mean, this is like introducing fantasy to these like fantasy elements to animation that also exist in the real world. Probably not done before. I'm not sure though.
What do you mean by that? I don't really understand.
Well, it's like this movie doesn't take place in a fantasy world, right? It takes place in Japan.
Yeah, it takes place in...
And then
yeah.
there's these fantasy elements within real Japan, that's kind of what I mean. And that's kind of how Steven Universe is,
So it's like, say, the Fairly Odd Parents, right?
Oh, sure, let's go with
sort
that.
of how that's...
Yeah, that's true. The Fairly Odd Parents does have a spirit world. Yeah.
Well, the fairy world.
The fairy world. I didn't think of comparing that to this before, but that's a good point. But yeah, this is kind of a hard one to discuss, because our view on it now is going to be much different from before. But we can compare it to the other slice of life Ghibli movies, which me and Sam have basically gone over all of them except like Whisper of the Heart, Arrietty, I think.
Yeah, I've never seen Arrietty yet.
Yeah, we could do Arrietty. It's pretty good. And
I haven't seen either of those, actually.
Whisper of the Heart is one of my favorites all time, and but yeah, I think this is very good. I think it's in the second tier of Ghibli Miyazaki films. I watched the sub this time. I'd never seen the sub before. I'd seen the dub a few times.
How was it?
The sub, it was very good. I don't remember it being much different from the dub. I mean, I get something, you get something special out of the dub, or at least I do, because the probably the best casting choice, like in dub history, of actually getting the Fanning sisters to do this. Like,
I do think that was a good choice. A lot of it was kind of like off.
Yeah, I mean, they're like very young in this. I believe this was Elle Fanning's first role in anything, and this kind of...
Dakota was like 10.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, she was like 5 or something. No, this is not Elle's first role, and she was in I Am Sam with Dakota. Okay.
Whatever.
But there you go. And it's... Yeah, I really love that element of the dub. And the sub probably... I feel like this is how I remembered their voices being, like May's voice, and kind of being distinctively, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
Distinctively a 4-year-old.
A 4-year-old, and yeah.
Distinctively.
Loud, and, stuff like that. That's the one thing of this film, which is great. It really captures children's behavior better than maybe any other film I've seen.
Really? I was sort of like, up until they had that little argument that like sort of put the climax in motion.
Do you just see children as arguing all the time?
Yeah, because that's what they do. Children are brats, and they argue, and they're not like as nice to each other as these two are.
I mean, they're kind of nice to each other, yeah, but like it's
especially given like maybe it's like a cultural thing.
Japanese people are just nicer. Is that
No, that's not what I'm. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with like emotions.
Yeah, it's possible.
Culture.
I don't know. I think the first time I saw this, my cousins were around the ages of the sisters here, and I just thought it was extremely realistic in the film.
Not realistic to my life.
Everyone's gonna be different here, and it's yeah. So I just, this is like perfect slice of life, kind of. It's I mean, it's not like I do think it's kind of like a perfect movie, but I don't think perfect means best, if that makes sense. Like, you can set out to do something, and then you can do it great. And it's like if you're reaching for like the best ever and you don't get there, you can still have something better than My Neighbor Totoro, I guess.
Like,
I don't.
Like it's like objectively perfect. You think?
I don't think it's objectively perfect. I just don't see any flaws in it. We can discuss though. Okay, let's get into specifics, I guess.
I guess
There's no specifics to talk about.
I have a few specifics.
Okay, well, what do you want to bring up first?
What is Mom sick with?
Mom is sick with a movie. Parent is sick-itis.
I don't. That just bothered me the whole entire movie. Like, what does she have? I was starting to think it was like some sort of mental illness, but then there's like, oh, she has a cold. She can't come home for the weekend. Like, okay. Like,
problem is, it is 1958 Japan. I don't know if they've actually diagnosed her with anything, you know? Like, not only is it just not an important detail to the movie, it's possible.
It's important to me.
It's possible, and Sam needs to know everything about the backstory of...
I do, and I was, like, getting a little bit bothered because I didn't know what the dad did for, like, a job.
Yeah.
Because, like, the first half of the movie, he just hung around the house.
Yeah, well, it's still not obvious. Like, he's a professor of some sort, but how he's a professor that he can be at home most of the time, it's interesting.
I mean, I can accept professor. I can accept that because you know professors aren't always at school.
I guess he's a professor that's not. Maybe he's not teaching and he's doing his research at home. I don't know.
He has a lot of books.
He does have a lot of books. Kind of working on what looks like graph paper on something indiscriminate. Yeah. It's the dad. What do you think of the dad character?
Like I said, the dub sort of made him out to be a plank of wood. I think he's like a really cool dad, though. Like he sort of plays along with his kids and like sort of encourages their imaginations. Even if the things they're viewing maybe aren't imaginative.
Yeah, it's interesting the relationship between. This kind of relates to that. It's like the relationship between the characters think of the fantasy elements because they're just very accepting right away. Like the dad's just like, oh yeah, Totoro, you know, that works. The king of the forest.
I think that's cool, but like maybe further on he'll start to get like super annoyed. Also, I'm like kind of confused as to why he's like so happy and chipper if his wife is in the hospital. So, I don't
Positive outlook on life.
And also, he has to like commute that long commute, and like, how does he do it?
Yeah, no, I think he comes across as pretty sympathetic. It's interesting. Like I think maybe first time I watched the film, I thought that he was just humoring his daughter's like imaginations, but.
You think he actually believes?
I think that this is like a Japanese cultural thing. Like the thing with the fantasy elements of this film is that they're based around traditional Japanese spiritualism, and like it's like Totoro is just seen as the spirit of the forest of where they're living, and that's like a thing that people in Japan are like big on. And like there's a shrine, and you know there's a shrine to Totoro. I mean, usually in media from Japan, you see the spirit will not actually be a thing. You know, like it's just kind of in the background. Like there's kind of this very it's just like this non. I don't know how to describe it. It's religion, but. At the same time, it's almost more spiritualism than religion because they're not expecting like the gods to be real, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of just this representation. So this puts it way more literally than a lot of media I've seen usually do. And so like that. So like that's kind of if you view the film in that light, it's like it's almost not fantasy for a long time in this film. Like you can kind of accept it as just being reality, kind of right until the cat bus comes. That's kind of the turning point. Because a lot of the fantasy elements until that happens really just make sense with like traditional Japanese culture. And then not like that I specifically think that there's like Totoros and stuff. It's just from a very broad perspective.
Totoros are real.
Yeah, but it does seem I can buy him actually thinking the Totoros are real, you know. I mean, I also feel like there's an element of his personality to like, what does it matter if it's real or not? You know, like that's not necessarily the point. It's more of the emotions that his daughters are having, you know, and it's like encouraging positive stuff. And him, you know, even if he buys into it too, just wanting the positive emotions out of that. I feel like realism isn't as important there to him, maybe. but yeah, it's somewhat hard for us to view like without being in this in Japan, and I do feel like it's possible the Cat Bus is supposed to be a turning point in terms of fantasy for the film.
Cat Bus.
Because that cat bus, yeah, the Cat Bus is extremely iconic, and that entire scene is maybe the big thing to talk about.
I was like kind of worried because like Totoro was like at the bus stop and he's waiting for the bus, and I'm like, he came from the bus because like it's a bus and he's a thing, and he's just there. But then Cat Bus comes and he's like all magical with his stretchy skin and his rat tail lights and stuff.
He also has rat headlights. I noticed it.
I know that's so cool though.
Yeah. The Cat Bus is such a great design, and obviously one of the most influential things. Directly spawned Appa in Avatar, in among basically many other fantasy animation like animal elements. It's the entire scene of Totoro coming while they're waiting for the bus in the rain. The shot of Totoro with the umbrella standing next to Satsuki and I guess Mei on her back, and is I think probably the most iconic animation shot ever, and
it's also the poster.
The poster, yeah. There's that's the poster on Wikipedia, probably because they probably chose that one because it's iconic, and then the entire thing with the cap with her giving him the umbrella, and
no, he stole that umbrella.
I don't think he understood the concept of borrowing. That's that's what I think.
But he just like jacks their umbrella. Like, thanks, Totoro.
What do you think of Totoro's just pure joy at the concept of the umbrella?
It was so cute. Like, he was so happy. I thought he was gonna get like really scared when the rain from the trees started like trickling down onto it, but he got so happy and it was cute. I liked it.
It's like my read on it is like he's so happy that he has this thing because he has the leaf on his head and he gets annoyed by the rain from the trees falling, but now he has this. And so he's like playing with it because
now he's Mary Poppins.
Yeah, and just that entire thing with that is some of the best interactions of the film, and then getting on Cat Bus is just great. And it's that's like the number one memorable Ghibli scene, I think, and it's really kind of the film's high point of blending fantasy and character and interesting character interactions. And I think probably at the end when Satsuki gets on Cat Bus again, and finds Mei is also really good. It's basically anything with Cat Bus is the best.
Well, Cat Bus is only there for like 2 sequences.
Yeah, 2 kind of short sequences. I actually
and Totoro maybe for only like 4, right?
Yeah, there's a few. What do you think of the one with Totoro doing the growing dance around the plants and them joining in, and then the tree sprouts really big, and then
I didn't really get it.
Why didn't you get it?
But I guess it was maybe there's nothing to get.
It's like a representation of like the seeds being sprouted. If you view Totoro as like the god of the forest, it's like he has sprouted the seeds, and that was kind of just a symbolic telling of that happening.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think it's just really inventive way to show that, and it's really like
it's Totoros and the little Totoros.
Yeah. What do you think of the little Totoros?
They exist. I mean, they don't really do anything. Like, Mei chases after one, but
what do you think of the design of Big Totoro? Like, he's like the most iconic fantasy.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder he is their logo, and like it's such like a big merchandising thing for them too, because Totoro is so cute.
Yeah.
It's just this big fluffy ball of like a rabbit John, and like I don't know. Totoro's just really cute, and personally, like, I want to go out and buy a Totoro.
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, animal right now.
I don't have a Totoro. Yeah, I could get a Totoro. It's the fact that the Totoro's like still a thing here. Like, what is this?
Like what? 27 years later.
Yeah, 27 years later with it's from a different country, and it's kind of still this big stylistic phenomena, right? That's kind of crazy. It's like almost. It's like even more impressive than I'm blanking on it. The cat thing.
Cat thing?
The cat thing. Yeah. Hello Kitty. Yeah. Hello Kitty being like this phenomenon here. Yeah, the cat thing.
Oh my god, the cat thing. Okay.
Yeah, but like that's kind of a similar thing. It's like, why is Hello Kitty so popular here,
I don't know.
But Hello Kitty's kind of designed to be this phenomena. You know, Totoro's just a character in the film. It's let's talk. So okay, we had those fantasy sequences. We had the one at the end. What's the other? We see Totoro and the Totoro's in the tree at one point, and then
They're like doing the
whatever.
Was it like an ocarina?
Yeah, it's an ocarina. Sure, I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. It looks like one.
Oh, what do you think of the suit things? What did they?
Suit gremlins.
Yeah, they probably have different names in dubs and subs. The
Suit gremlins.
Susu Watari, black suits, dust bunnies, suit sprites, gremlins. I'm seeing all of these on Wikipedia as a translation for it.
I don't know, but they were there for that one thing.
That's another really iconic kind of fantasy creature. They come back in Spirited Away.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking, you sort of know how Nausicaa is sort of considered like a practice run for Princess Mononoke.
I hate that when people
I know
say
that
that,
you
but yeah.
hate that, but I'm just saying like that's like a consensus that's out there. I was sort of thinking when I was watching this, it's kind of like the proto Spirited Away.
Yeah, so this movie shares a ton of elements to Spirited Away. I mean, the framing device is the same. They're moving to a new house, and you have a similarly aged main character. Although maybe May is the main character of this, I'm not sure. And then you have this kind of blending of the fantasy realm and the normal realm. Yeah, it's very, very, very similar to Spirited Away.
Spirited Away is a very scary movie.
Really?
Yes, we can talk about it. Well, I don't really want to watch Spirited Away. But
okay. Oh, yeah, I think Delaney wants to do that one, but it's
you're gonna get that to Delaney.
Okay. I mean, I think Spirited Away is a clearly better film than this. I mean, it's more narratively interesting.
I don't really like that movie either. But
what elements of this film are you not in love with, or is it just you're not blown away in general by it?
For Totoro,
yeah, for Totoro.
I don't know, I'm just not really blown away by it that much.
Like, can you think of any? Do you like when I say that's kind of like this perfect film? Can you think of any criticisms of like what actually is on the page? You know.
I would say sort of. I wish we would have done this last night when I actually watched it. Because I had so much to say. Criticism.
I mean, you can think about it.
I'll sit on that.
Okay, sit in the criticisms. I mean, I just the reasons why I don't think this is Ghibli's best film, and because some people do, and I don't really get it. It's there's just nothing like super. There's no really great storytelling going on here.
Yeah. There's not really too much of a plot,
which is fine.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like your movies, they don't have that plot.
I mean, let's compare this to some other ones we've been over, like Only Yesterday. I assume you like Only Yesterday more than this film.
I do, yes.
So what Only Yesterday kind of similarly has not that much going on, but it kind of has this overall thing that it's working towards with its storytelling, right, between the flashbacks and the current, and just trying to tell this really intricate character piece.
Yeah.
This one, there's just not even like an eighth of the character study for any of the characters in here as Only Yesterday.
I think that might be a criticism of mine. Sort of, I'm not sure if the feature-length movie is like a good medium for this. You know what I mean? Like it could be done maybe in like I don't know, like comic strips or manga or something else. But the film using the medium of film to tell the story does have like its advantages as well. The beautiful visuals, all that sort of thing. But in terms of story, I think something else that sort of lends itself to more pause and more inactivity probably could be a way to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be unsuccessful for you if you're expecting like this big narrative out of it.
Yeah.
And like, I think this is a pretty good use of the film medium, but like it's also this is a 90-minute film, which is very unusual for Miyazaki. We're usually an hour longer than this, and it's not really trying to do anything specific, which is interesting. It's kind of a unique film in that regard, and I've always had trouble critically evaluating it, because usually you can either say, okay, this is like a narrative piece or a character piece for a film.
It doesn't really feel like either,
and it's not either. Yeah, it's more of it's closer to a character piece. Like what ultimately I think it is this is like it's like a family exploration, but it's not specifically about that family. It's like that type of thing in this setting, in this time period about Japan, but it's also not necessarily about this time period. It's just more of exploring this kind of ruralistic concept in general.
I guess so, especially like with the characters. I feel like we start one place and maybe we move like a centimeter or two by the end of it. Like nothing.
I mean, I think like, okay, so let's talk Satsuki and Mei. Like, I think Satsuki is an interesting character in the film.
Yeah.
Like, I find her very sympathetic, and there's nothing super narratively interesting going on, because the film, rather than kind of showing any sort of kind of interesting elements with her character, we kind of just focus on Totoro and Mei at the end, rather than and she gets more of a role within Totoro towards the end, looking for Mei. But it's not like we're necessarily supposed to find anything super interesting about her towards the end. Mei is just kind of the stagnant character a little bit, and she's more of a representation of like wonder and imagination almost, rather than too much of a specific character.
Yeah.
I mean, I find her an extremely realistic 5-year-old girl, but it's not like she has that much depth, you know. And other than that, there's like no characters, so it's
Granny.
There's Granny. Who's Granny?
The tsundere boy.
Tsundere boy. Oh man, do you think he's tsundere?
He is. He was like, like smacking his umbrella like in their face, and he just like ran off.
That's just like typical like 11-year-old boy who is like ew girls, but also like has a crush on her, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. I found all of that super realistic. Let's compare this to other slice of life films we've went over.
I was about to maybe bring up that it was a double featured when it was.
It was double featured.
It was double featured with Grave of the Fireflies.
Grave of the Fireflies. It's like the biggest mismatch ever in terms of showing two films back to back, right? You have this film, which is like pure wonder and imagination and hope, and then you have Grave of the Fireflies, which is pure despair.
I think that's like a really interesting dichotomy, though.
It is, yeah.
Like especially comparing the two. How we were just talking about how sort of nothing really happens in this film, and sort of it's more like on the side of character piece, but it sort of falls a little bit flat in that. Whereas Grave of the Fireflies, it's also about two siblings, an older and a younger, sort of the older one sort of like shepherding the younger one in the absence of.
Maybe Grave of the Fireflies is the best comparison for this film, because I don't think that film is like not really its characters aren't that important either. It's more of just this general concept about the ravages of war, you know.
Yeah.
And this one is maybe the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just through the lens of these characters who are real characters, but they're not that important overall.
Yeah.
So that's a good comparison. Yeah, I don't think we should evaluate it as a double feature. I think that was just kind of how they chose to air it when they put them out.
To release it.
Release it, like, because it was 1988 in movie theaters and stuff like that. But, I mean, we still have those, but it's, I don't know. Japan is, I guess,
movie
different
theaters?
with its
What
movie
is that?
theaters. Yeah, well, it is. It's more of that than it was before.
I definitely think the characters in Grave of the Firefly, whatever you want to call that movie, I forget. I definitely think the characters are more realistic.
Do you think they're more realistic?
Especially, I don't remember the name of the little girl.
The little girl in that one, I think like she's just as realistic as Mei is. Like,
I think she's more realistic than Mei.
I don't know. I'd have to rewatch.
That's just your opinion, man.
It's like your opinion, man. Yeah. What else have we talked about? We have talked about from Up on Poppy Hill. Do you think this film is better or worse than Up on Poppy Hill?
I don't know.
They're just very different.
They're very like apples and oranges. I don't like. They're both fruit, but
Are they both fruit?
yeah. I mean, they're both slice of life.
Yeah, Poppy Hill, it's kind of more of a narrative piece, I guess, right? Like, it has two clear momentum moving narratives going on. Even though that's the, like, least interesting part of the film, it's more interesting as if you look at the characters. I also think the characters are more well-established than this film. But it doesn't mean Poppy Hill's better. Like, it's more of a personal favorite for me, but...
I don't really think I could compare the two.
They're just... I have trouble comparing Totoro to anything. Because it's kind of this unique thing in the elements we've talked about. It's almost like the most slice of life ever. Like, I previously called Whisper of the Heart the queen of slice of life films, because that is like the longest nothing happening film that you will ever see. And this one is an hour less long than that, probably. I assume Whisper of the Heart is 2.5, like, it's so long. And it's nope, only 2 hours somehow, that movie.
Oh.
And it's this film, it's like, I don't know, this has more clear fantasy elements. Like, Whisper of the Heart has one fantasy sequence, but it's clearly not real, and this one kind of blends the two together and stuff like that. Whisper of the Heart's more of this character study for sure, and it kind of focuses on this main character. And in this film, it'd be like if Satsuki was like more of the focus the entire time, and we kind of had this Satsuki driven film, right? That's what the equivalent would be. But really, this is just this kind of thematic concept. Not concept, but like, I feel like it's like a thematic exploration. Maybe there should be 3 types of films, not 2. Maybe it should be a narrative film, a character film, and a thematic film. What do you think of that?
I agree with that, yeah.
Like, what do you can we think of any other, like, thematic films?
Thematic film.
Like, I think Grave of the Fireflies is a great example, yeah.
I think that's a good example.
Potentially Kiki's Delivery Service, but I think that's also more of a character exploration.
I
than
really
this one.
couldn't say. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I think Kiki's is kind of similar to Totoro. Like, it has more of a plot and more of characters. So, but you could argue it's that type of thing.
Maybe no. My Neighbors, the Yamadas, maybe.
I don't remember that one too much, but yeah.
I don't know. I was about like
How about any like recent live action films we can think of as thematic pieces? I don't even know.
Tree of Life.
Yeah, well,
Boyhood.
Boyhood's, I guess, a character. Yeah, Tree of Life is that.
Brad Pitt, Sean Penn.
Yeah, that's one of my most hated movies of all time. It's that is totally a thematic movie, though. It was unsuccessful in its thematic presentations, but yeah, I think if you try to look at that movie in terms of plot, then it's the worst thing ever, and if you try to look at it in terms of character, then it's really bad. But if you like try to see it as like this theoretical exploration, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's what's so impressive about Totoro to me, is I'm very likely to not like these kind of artsy films. Like, artsy in that they're like abstract. Abstract is better than artsy.
Yeah.
These abstract films. It's like Totoro kind of isn't this abstract film. It has a concrete line that's happening the entire time. But if you want to classify it more as this type of abstract thematic film than anything else, then I feel like that's probably accurate. I don't know. But now that I think about it, if we're going to classify Tree of Life as thematic, then maybe that's different too, because that doesn't have but it's hard because just one has a concrete narrative, one doesn't, you know. Like, the narrative in Tree of Life is just not linear, and this one is this film is very grounded. I feel like that's why it's super successful to me. Like, it's grounded, and
it's not trying to be artsy.
It's not. I don't know if it's. Yeah, it's like it's able for me to explore these this like elements of wonder and of like joy in life, because it has a grounded narrative and grounded characters, and that to me allows it to go on these like kind of crazy journeys with Totoro. Like, first we establish the characters and the setting, and we kind of stay within the setting that we're given the entire time and the same timeline. And because of that, then when it does things like grow the tree and then come back, I'm accepting of that. I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like this is I feel like you have to go if you like want to see Tree of Life as a successful film, which many critics do. Then I feel like you just have to not expect, if you're expecting to see any sort of movie that makes sense, then you can't see it as successful. So you kind of have to go into it with just this completely different mindset than many other films.
I don't know.
It's hard. Maybe it's good if we did Grave of the Fireflies and then talked about it in relation to Totoro, because that's an interesting one. What other elements?
Ready to cry.
No, yeah, I haven't seen it in so long.
Other elements about this film.
How did you know that's what I was going to say?
Because you just began saying it.
And
May's character design is very ugly.
They're so rude. May is...
I also think the character designs for Ponyo are also very ugly.
Don't you think
I
that...
don't think Ghibli is very good at babies.
Don't you think that May is maybe more of a realistic human child, because not all human children are, like, perfect looking?
I wasn't saying that. I'm saying that the character design looks like a human cabbage.
Yeah, it's like kind of big heads and like pudginess, right? But I don't know.
That's just like your opinion.
I think it's a successful design for me. Ponyo is... I see what you're saying with Ponyo. It's slightly different from here, right? I mean, obviously it's like 20 years later, but Ponyo is like a very specific stylistic choice about how it's drawing people. Mm-hmm. And here... May does look a little different than the other ones. Like, I feel like
Marco was also kind of ugly in Howl's Moving Castle.
Okay, I would need to rewatch, but I don't know. Like, Satsuki, I think, is kind of normal looking for a character design, and the dad probably. Do you think the dad's design's normal?
He has a really big, like, he has interesting hair.
Why does he have interesting hair?
He's just got a really big, like, coif right there, and it's like. He's like a really big cowlick. Just like, I don't know. He's a dad. He's had the glasses, whatever.
I also feel like, getting something I think needs to be mentioned is that we talked about it and we've said something similar, but like this film is kind of viewing the world and like 1958 rural Japan through like these two children's eyes. And, like, we talked about, like, how it's this thematic movie about wonder. And I feel like it's, like, childhood wonder is maybe a better way to say it. Like, this is like, the film exploration of childhood wonder.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I think I agree, yeah.
It's like, everything... It's just the way the movie explores Totoro and, like, builds up to him and, like, just approaches... these fantasy elements through such I don't know, wonder. Like, obviously that's what I'm trying to explain, but it just all seems very much through like a child's eyes to me. What do you think of the random thought? What do you think of Totoro's like giant grin? The same with the cat bus.
Well, I've been on the TV tropes page for this whole podcast. It's a Cheshire.
It is the Cheshire grin, yeah.
Cheshire grin. I think it's a little bit unsettling, but like I think it's also like makes me happy. I don't know. Yeah,
like that's kind of why I brought up is like if this film was not from like this childhood wonder viewpoint, then it would totally be creepy. But I don't think it's ever creepy.
I don't know.
It's kind of just really.
It just makes Totoro slightly less cute.
I think it adds to his overall, but whatever he has going, I'm not sure, but it kind of adds to that.
I just need to investigate this. Why do we all find Totoro so cute?
He was manufactured.
I mean, he must have been like. I need to like take some psychology classes about this. Like, what is it?
That's what the no. I don't think it's a Minions thing. The Minions manufactured to be cute for children.
No Minions. I mean, Totoro's like fluffy. He's like giant. He's like a stuffed animal.
He is a stuffed... Yeah, I mean, he is... A lot of people have the stuffed animal of Totoro.
Okay, something I was just thinking about. So, a couple times during the movie when the Tsundere boy has, what's-her-face?
Satsuki?
Satsuki, yes, thank you. Has her over to, like, his house or uncle's house, whoever. Like, his family members always comment on how she's such a nice girl.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm wondering why they took the time to do that, and is it demeaning? Or is it sort of like doing that thing where when, people are babies, parents will be like, oh, it would be so great if our kids got married, blah, blah, blah.
So it's obvious what its function within given that it's in the film, it's obvious what its function is. There's like this kind of B plot of exploring the very vague romantic things going on between the two of them, right? And not necessarily from Satsuki's perspective, really, just kind of the boy like crushing on her and stuff. And I've never really thought about it from the perspective of why is it included. I mean, if you ask why is anything included in this film, it gets a little hard to answer. But
who knows?
I think it's probably trying to further this perspective of vague beginnings of childhood romance explored. And one element of that is like adults encouraging it, even if you don't necessarily have these feelings yet, or even if you do have these feelings, you know. Ew. I mean, I think it makes sense within the other childhood perspective elements being explored. And that's kind of one of the interesting things about this film is that it's very much childhood wonder, and we have the character of Satsuki. I don't know if the film ever says exactly how old she is, but she's theoretically towards the end of her, like, whatever, metaphorical childhood, you know? And so we kind of have that. I feel like that's, like, maybe one of the themes. It's like only Mei sees Totoro at first, and Mei obviously still a child. It's like, is Satsuki too much of an adult now to see Totoro?
Oh, like, is it like the Polar Express?
Well, I haven't seen that, but it's maybe only adults can see, only children can see Totoro. I think
it's the Polar Express. Wow.
Well, that's what the only Mei or Satsuki at some point discovers that no one can see Cat Bus except them, right?
Oh my god.
Well, that's what this is. I guess you mean Polar Express.
When was the Polar Express written?
The recent Polar Express film?
Oh, it's based off of a book, you dummy.
When was the book written? Let's look that up. In 1985. So it's actually right before this. Interesting. Was Totoro based off of the Polar Express?
I see you, Miyazaki.
I feel like Miyazaki would not have gotten this. Well, because this movie would be in production before 1985, and also that book would be in English. So I'm skeptical of that.
Children believing stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's this like element of childhood wonder being explored here. Yeah.
Tie this back to Danny Phantom with
no.
Youngblood, only kids can see him.
But like, my point is that Satsuki is a character who is
Whisper Taylor Lautner.
Is like almost not a child anymore, and it's like there's this whole element of, is Satsuki still able to have this childhood wonder represented by Totoro, and she certainly is able to once he appears at the bus stop. Another reason I feel like that scene is so super successful, that's like the culmination of this like theme they're exploring, and it's like Satsuki still has her childhood here, and then she goes on this big fantasy exploration later, and that's kind of I feel like the boy is kind of this pull of adulthood on her life, maybe. Like she already has to take care of Mei, and then their mother's sick, and like there's all these elements trying to like pull her out of her like idealistic childhood, and Totoro represents her still within that. What?
The trope name for like only things that kids can see that adults can't, but as you begin to transition into adulthood or like a more adult mentality, you can't see it.
Puberty ruins wonder in the world. That's basically the theme. I mean, it happens in a lot of things, and maybe this is one of the first introductions of that.
TV tropes tell me what it is.
It's definitely a trope, like, for sure.
Oh, God, there's so many tropes on this. Also, TV tropes lists Tsundere boy as a tsundere, so...
Okay, good job.
There you go.
Tsundere boy. In that regard, all boys of his age are probably tsunderes then.
I mean, he is.
It's just a function of... He's not really supposed to be too much of a character. Like, much like everyone in this film.
Oh, it also says that mom has soap opera disease.
Cause just like some sickness that is not explicitly mentioned, that's kind of explored for drama within the thing.
Like, she doesn't even look sick.
She doesn't look sick. That's true.
She just has like a really big forehead.
That's you're criticizing her a lot. Come on.
I'm critical. A woman won't tell me what's wrong with her. Nor will the hospital or her husband.
What other thematic elements can I think of that we can...
Oh, the trope is called Invisible to Adults.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That was simple.
That was simple, yeah. I do feel like that's a big thing going on here. And it's kind of subtle, but I don't know. No, this film is I feel like subtle in the themes it's exploring mostly, because it's very... Ostensibly, it's very much just what it is. And then also on an analysis level, it's also very much just what it is. But you just have to take like what's going on and see what it's trying to do, I guess, and types of things we've discussed. Very, very much that type of thematic film that we were discussing earlier. What else do we have specifics wise from here?
I don't know.
What do you think of their the nuts in them finding that the suit guys leave, and then later Totoro gives them the bag of the acorns. The sub called them acorns.
I don't really get that either. Nature,
yeah. There's a
I
big.
mean, Miyazaki's big on nature.
I mean,
so.
that's another thing. Yeah, we haven't discussed that at all. This is very much a environmentalism film too. I mean, Totoro is the forest, and he's a force of good here, and the forest is good. There's not too much of a conservative preservationist thing going on, because no one's really trying to oppose the forest. It's just that the forest is good and this element of wonder.
Forest propaganda.
Yeah, that's Miyazaki. That's his MO, forest propaganda. Everything is propaganda, though, if you think of it as
forest propaganda.
It's
if your sister gets lost, the forest's gonna help you find her.
Yeah, it's true, dude. I would just go ask the forest in real life if that happens to you.
Dear tree, where did my little sister run off to? Because I was too mean to her to watch her. I don't know. Why did they let May just run off?
Because she wanted to give the corn to her mom.
No, she did 2 times before this in the movie.
Yeah, she did. I thought I kept expecting that to happen because I hadn't seen it in a little bit, so I thought
that's that's like Rugrats syndrome right there.
Rugrats syndrome. Yeah,
that's my new official name for that. Letting little kids run off and having their own adventures, when in real life, you keep an eye on those kids. You gotta watch them. They're gonna make themselves hurt.
Yeah, that's the first time she finds Totoro. The dad lets her run off on her.
But I guess it's good that we found Totoro or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
I guess. Why does he have the movie named after him?
What do you think a more accurate film name for this film should be?
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's hard. Nothing's happening, so it's hard to label it. How about?
Is Totoro? I guess is their neighbor technically.
He is their neighbor. The forest is their neighbor. Nature's the neighbor. Be kind to your neighbor, etc., etc.
I might maybe rename it My Neighbor Granny because she's in the movie more than Totoro is.
Wow, is she?
I think she might
probably
be.
A little bit, yeah. Do you think Granny is an unsung hero?
Yeah, I think she is. She's the only responsible adult.
She kind of is, yeah. The dad just lets May run off, but she doesn't keep track of May either. She thinks it's May's sandal. That's kind of a dark turn for the film.
I thought it was May's sandal.
People think May drowned in the river. That's not good.
Whoops.
I guess the conflict at the end is
yeah, but now some other kid is drowned in the river. Wow.
Maybe the kid just flicked their sandal off and it landed in the river.
No, some other kid is dead in that river.
Okay, if you say so. Yeah.
Because it's not May. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, yeah. I guess that's the conflict at the end of the film, is this challenge to the childhood wonder and to just the dangers of the world. I don't know.
But the forest is your friend.
You grow up and you become aware of the dangers of the world. But the forest is there to save you, ultimately.
I don't know. There's a lot of dangerous things in the forest. I don't know about that.
No, no dangerous things here. Just fluffy bunny
I'm
spirits.
sure even in Japan there's dangerous things in the forest.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Not in Japan. The forest is just kindly.
What are some of the Japan fauna?
Japanese fauna.
Fauna of Japan.
No, that's okay. We don't need to discuss that. I feel like we've reached a culmination in our discussion.
I'm looking it up. I just want to know what kind of animals they have in their forests.
I mean, they have squirrels apparently, and mice. I guess they say rats, not mice, right? I don't know what else.
I don't know. Wildlife of Japan. Oh, they have monkeys?
They have monkeys in Japan? I didn't know that.
They have red-crowned cranes. Japanese giant salamander. Oh, God. Japanese giant hornet.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of our discussion.
I'm showing you a picture of this.
Okay. Don't show me a scary bee, though. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Okay.
I don't like bees.
Anything else you want to talk about
Not the beans. Okay, that's...
Then...
Can't see. No, okay, no. Vaguely referencing something Mel and I discussed on Wednesday. Okay. That's all for... for our Totoro discussion, and I have loud lawnmower in my background too. That's another sign to wrap up.
Summer is ending.
Summer is ending. It's true.
It's over already.
That means what?
It's over already for me.
Aw, sad. It is summer during. No, it's like the end of summer in Totoro, I guess. Although Japan's school thing is different, so I don't know when this takes place. Anyway, I'm Dylan Nice in that Sam Quattro. You can find our links and everything else about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. The social media links, that is. And
that is really loud lawnmower.
yeah, this is why we're wrapping up. That is a scary bee. You shouldn't have showed me that.
It's a hornet.
Scary bee.
It's a hornet. Japanese giant hornet.
Japanese giant hornet. That's a long name. You can support our podcast at patreon.com/overlyanimated. I'm not sure exactly when this one's going up, but currently our patrons are Andy, Beatriz, Mitch, Nate Cordell, and Shayna. That is Buzz Lightyear, Beatrix Strange, Fever Mitch, Nathan Fillion, Cordell University, and Hana. I'm sorry if that is not up to date as to when this comes out, but we're recording this at a time. And so I have no idea. So I don't know what's coming next because I don't know what's coming out. So there you go. What do you think we should do next, Ghibli-wise, Sam? Ariety?
Do you want to do Grave of the Fireflies next?
We could do Grave of the Fireflies. That's a tough one. But we could do it.
That or Ariety or Whisper of the Heart.
Okay, I've been considering exploring a solo podcast. That's the only one I would be comfortable doing solo is Whisper of the Heart.
But do that. You have fun.
I don't know. I still don't really want to do that. I feel like I'd get 20 minutes out of me monologuing before it was too much.
10-page essay on Whisper of the Heart.
By Dylan, yeah.
Do next week.
Do next week, basically. Okay.
Whenever that is.
Tell us what you think of Totoro, if you think we explored it. Well, it's a tough one to talk about. And
donate us a stuffed animal.
Send us Totoros, yeah, that's a good idea. And thanks.
Maybe someday, if we're ever big giant podcast stars, we should get a P.O. box.
Yeah, we could get a P.O. box, I guess.
I mean, not now, but
I guess we could.
With all 5 of you.
And then people could send us Totoros, yeah.
Because I really want a Totoro.
I feel like they're probably pretty expensive, but who sells them now? I don't know. Totoro stuffed animal.
The people who make them, I don't know. List of mammals in Japan.
There's a 9-inch one for $6. That's kind of small. I don't know.
Kind of small.
Thank you. Anyway, that's okay. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll explore Totoro plushes. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.